Hi, everybody. This is 1,177 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. He was a whistleblower, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. They didn't want another Guillen situation, meaning they didn't want their jobs, their gravy trains, to be uh, at risk, and um, so they covered up what they knew, and that is that Richard was retaliated, uh, retaliated for being a whistleblower. And at first, I don't think that they uh, really wanted to murder him. They wanted to just discredit him. And that's why on January 27th, Belen, I believe this is my opinion, lured him out uh, to give him a ride to this parking lot just across from the Buffalo Soldiers Gate, right near the multi agency, mainly FBI, for this special office that they have there in that parking lot. And then late at night, midnight after midnight, this K9 MP arrests Richard. They set him up. They set him up. Anytime you put on a light, when you are arresting someone, if you're going after someone, you have to put your vehicle lights on, your law enforcement lights on your police vehicle. And let me make sure make sure I'm on. I am. Make sure I turn this down. Now, okay, thank you. I see Anicia. Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Halliday. Prayers for you and your family. Thank you. Prayers for justice for Richard. Thank you so much. So, so on that night on the 27th, thank you, Anicia. On the night of the 27th of January 2020, Richard was stopped by a K9 officer around midnight in a parking lot. He was sitting in the vehicle, and he said that he saw him drive without his lights on in the parking lot, and that's why he stopped him. Um, so we don't know really what happened. We only have his word because when you put on your lights, or you want to make a stop, an arrest, or even any kind of stop, you have to put those lights on, and that will trigger the camera, the body cam, the vehicle cam. And it's very important for all law enforcement to do that today because it is pretty dangerous. Their lives are at risk, and so taxpayers' money make sure that they have a backup. And we pay for these fancy cameras for this oversight, right, of this transparency of what happens when you stop somebody and you arrest them. And there is no uh, camera footage of this stop. So that is also very troubling because then we only have his word. And of course, we don't have to tell the story, but we do have the bond agent. And she was like, oh my gosh, she was so sweet. Uh, when we talked with her, she said, oh, when I heard he was missing, I knew. And I've been praying for him. He was so sweet. He did everything I asked. And so we even cried. Rob and I, we were on a walk when we talked with her on the phone, and it was just an amazing conversation. And I just want to tell her thank you because that was something we needed at the time, and to keep us going, to put fuel, to know that we were doing the right thing, that we were moving forward in the right way. just some extra energy behind that. And so we looked into that even more, and we have, of course, an alliance there in El Paso and on Fort Bliss. And, it's very telling because it was clearly a setup to discredit a whistleblower. Now, why would they want to discredit a whistleblower? Because if you see something and you say something and you become a witness, if you become a witness and you report it like Richard did as a whistleblower, then and those are not my words that he reported it. Those are Belen Rocha's words. Belen Rocha, um, she said that he reported. He reported, okay? And we have other soldiers that came to us during the rallies that corroborated what she said, that the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. Um, Absolutely. And then we, it's been corroborated with Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, with and Brigadier General um, John Stewart. No, what's his name? Anyway, Brigadier General Stewart. And they corroborated that things were really in bad shape, that the barracks were flush with, that they brought in girls during the COVID, and really David Stewart didn't have anything to do with that. That was Major General Clem Coward with um, Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz that brought in the girls during the COVID, the young party girls. And we all know that even at Camp Pendleton and Fort Bliss, they had 14-year-old girls living in the barracks, being prostituted out. Um, and we know that's unacceptable. That's a crime. That is there's a lot that was and is not good going on these military bases. And so we know that Richard was a whistleblower. That is a fact. We know that he um, uh, got, this setup, this setup, and after this setup for this DUI, this false DUI, they use that, and I'm talking about his chain of command. I'm talking about his chain of command that is led by whoever. Whoever, is it in the CID? Was it Thomas Kane? Because was Thomas Kane up to no good? He was absolutely up to no good. The JAG, they were up to no good. The CID up to no good. Was it those, like James Hart in the VA? We know he's up to no good. Was We know they were up to no good. So, this would be, an easy investigation because you have several people, several places, and anyway, that are up to no good, and you can go to and, yeah, get answers pretty quick, I think. Um, and we have, and we have. We've gotten these answers of motive, and they were trying to silence Richard. But the way they were trying to do that is to discredit him as a witness, to make it inadmissible, whatever he had to say, in a court of law. And we know that the JAG was working outside of the law. So Richard did not have the support system to protect him as a whistleblower. And they proceeded to retaliate against him when they should have protected him as a whistleblower, as a witness. And so they tried to discredit him. They tried to make his witness testimony inadmissible. And I think they were successful on that because they continued for months and months. They began with Major General Clem Coward's GOMAR, and he made that permanent. And they started the chaptering. 14 of him, and they then Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick gave him a field grade Article 15 with maximum punishment. With that means taking away 3 ranks, 50% of his pay. How often do they take away 3 ranks? Not very often. And then take away 50% of his pay. They gave him restriction, 45 to 60 days restriction, 45 days of extra duty, wearing full battle gear, and wearing a COVID mask in the May-June heat of El Paso. And all an abuse of power, all unjust, all groundless, because on July 9th, 2020, very important day, an agreement was made that it was the DUI was false, and it was agreed on that it would be dismissed. And so what happened on July 9th, 2020, in the minds of Major General Clem Coward and Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick and all the other in the chain of command, and whoever they were taking their directions from, because we know, look at Major General Eisenhower, he can't make a decision on his own. He's, he's pretty impotent right now. He can't look at what is right and make a right decision, And how are we going to go to war with generals like that, right? How are we going to fight a war in Iran with a general like Major General Eisenhower? I don't know. Because Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal over and over, and she's a criminal all the time. She cannot be. She is the true one that has been discredited, and that is obstructing justice in our son's case. Absolutely. But going back to what happened with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick and Major General Clem Coward on July 9th, 2020, after months, January, February, March, April, May, June, of retaliating against Richard, unjustly abusing their power, and now they had no grounds for what they did to him. It just all fell. And that's why you see in his archives that they had to scrub the field grade Article 15. Okay? And even before we knew about this July 9th, 2020 meant to dismiss, even with that, it was all a soup sandwich. Even if you accepted the DUI, which we were like, oh, that's a weird DUI, it was all a soup sandwich. But now, knowing that July 9th, they didn't even have that, because they saw it as it was a fraud. And I think they even lied to us about the breathalyzer, because we have information from inside that Richard refused. Okay? So, and he was not happy with the arrest. He was not happy. And he refused. And we believe he refused even the breathalyzer, because clearly it was a setup, and he realized it. So with that July 9th, after months of being retaliated, was Major General Clem Coward going to say, oh, I'm going to bring this soldier in. I'm so sorry. I'm going to, rescind everything and restore you to your former self, right? And we're going to have to pay big money for your trouble, right? For what we did to you. And was Major it was Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick going to do the same? Because we know they've already scrubbed it from his file. They've already scrubbed the Chapter 14. They've already scrubbed the Field Grade Article 15. And then they promoted Richard twice, once in December of 2022 and then again in April of this year, 2023. Post mortem, right? They, but see, the problem is, this is the motive. Even if they were planning on restoring Richard and giving him for his pain and suffering, restitution for his pain and suffering, what he had gone through, that means that he was now a legitimate witness, that his witness testimony was admissible in the court. They had failed, July 9th, they failed to make him a criminal, right? They failed to discredit his witness testimony. And they realized that on the 9th. Not only were they going to have to backpedal and give him restitution, and he would have, a right to go to court against them for their abuse of power, right? I mean, they were in a big pickle. But what was even bigger is this weapon smuggling, is this child pornography, and we know the child sex tapes, and we know that Dallas Hart, the first lieutenant, the platoon leader, ran over to his mother's house to search for the child porn because they knew that there was going to be an investigation and they had to get rid of the evidence, right? This seemingly, this is what, there's multiple witnesses that know this, okay? So that's why I'm saying it on the live stream, because it's clear that he went over there and he was looking for this child pornography. And, we've even have reports that James Hart, they were creating this child pornography. And please God, no, don't let that be true, right? But that's what was going on. And then we know by Belen's testimony that Richard handed in the sex videos and are these the child pornography, right? The illegal child pornography, which is child torture. That's what that is. So that is all of what Richard could say on a witness stand now had credibility. They had failed to discredit Richard. So the code red, the abuse of power retaliation, the unjust retaliation that they conducted on Richard with the Gomar, with the setup of the DUI, with the Field Grade Article 15, with the chaptering, all of that, they faced that, to have to undo that. It was nothing compared to him being now legitimate on the witness stand. And so they escalated. This is my opinion. They escalated on July 9th. They decided, oh my gosh, what are we going to do when the word got out? And they escalated to murder him. So that is my opinion. And it is a motive. It is backed up with hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities in this case, enough to prosecute, for a jury to prosecute. And we have so much on Dallas Hart, we have enough for a jury to convict him, So that is really important. And then, of course, yesterday I had some breaking news about Belen and Dannia being first cousins because they share first cousins, right? They share first cousins, so there's first cousins, but there's more to it, and they seem to be connected to an address, 3905 Bliss Avenue. 3905 Bliss Avenue. Let I pulled that up so I could show it to you. And let's see if I can do this right. Can you see it? There it is. Okay, so here it is. Um, Here it is. And let's see if I go like this. You can kind of get a roundabout of it. And there seems to be apartments in the back here. And there seems to be, this is tied to Tanya Rocha. And it seems to be tied to the CPS complaints. The CPS complaints, this is what we are getting information about, are tied to this 3905 Bliss Avenue, which is tied to this family and to Belen. To Belen. It seems that Belen was a tenant here and possibly Dannia. Maybe they were roommates, right? So this is a very important address. And we know more, but that's all I'm at liberty to say at the moment is let's do this. Let's do this. This is it. It seems to be renovated. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Um, I can't say more. I can't say more. But it seems to be tied to both Belen Rocha and Danea Rocha, first cousins. And we need clarity on this. And that's why yesterday I asked Tanya Katzen and I asked Eddie Rocha, Lydia Ortega Rocha. She could absolutely answer these questions. They seem to be tied to Richard through these CPS complaints. And that would be really, really nice to get some clarity from people that have a long history with this home. So I think that that is really important. The address again is 3905 Bliss Avenue, El Paso, Texas. Okay, so that is more breaking news, and um, I don't want to forget to mention that, yeah, I know it is huge breaking news because there are some things in that house that were not right. That were not right. That's what we're getting. That's the reports that we are getting. Um, and, we're asking for clarity because, of course, we want to back things up. We want to corroborate what we are learning. And we're asking, just like the Pearl Mercedes, that C Class of Dallas Hearts, we've put it up. We put it up. We want clarity on it. And it, you know, it's been corroborated. Dallas is uh, he's the prime witness. I mean, prime suspect. He's the prime suspect in the murder of our son. And with his mother being the prime suspect um, in obstructing justice in this case, that makes sense. And his alibis that we've carefully, more than one person, and these are not just fly by night people. These are people of experience, of rank, and they have looked over the evidence, and they have said his alibi is not there. It's not there. Um, Matter of fact, it seems that he produced or manufactured evidence, which is another huge crime. So they're adding crimes upon crimes. And, the story that he didn't know Richard, um, that has crumbled. Absolutely, especially when you have Richard's silhouette on your car. Um, Seemingly, I think they knew each other. They knew each other, and the being the platoon leader, and also him being accused by his mother of incest, being accused by his mother of looking for the child pornography, um, and more. We have so much. There's so much there that, and it's so sad. It's so sad because, like Belen, like Dannia, to be groomed into that, to be betrayed by your mother. I mean, she totally betrayed him with her confession, which she needed to do, right? It was right for her to do, and for a 7-year old to be your friend's child, and to be sexually assaulted in your master bedroom by multiple members of the family, and then to be in such a violent group. Okay, these people that are related to this whole side of Find Richard Halliday, right? The prime suspects, they are very violent. I'm going to tell you that right now because we have evidence on evidence on evidence of their vile and vulgar threats, harassment, bullying, and that is so violent. If you can murder someone, if you can take your child and groom them into a criminal gang and then try to cover up for them, um, it's so violent and it's so vulgar. So this is, he, it's so sad, but there it is. He is the prime suspect, and his alibi is shattered, and we have plenty to have a jury convict him in our son's case. And so this is double sad when you think that they just did the lethal injection on a car jacker, hijacker that shot, not even as cruel, not even as violent as what they did to Richard. And they just gave him the lethal injection. This is not a game, and Dallas is, facing that. He's facing that, and others are also. And because we're getting the institutional support now, the knocks are coming, and to bring that kind of information to you about Belen and about Dannia. And if you know who they are and know how they have obstructed justice and, played this game, this very dangerous game of cover up in the murder of my son, in the murder of our soldier, right? Our hero, our soldier. And how do you go to war when this kind of stuff is happening in the military over and over again? How do you go to war when you can't trust your leadership to have your back, to leave no soldier behind, to be army. You can't be an army of one when you're doing this. When you've done this to the first Vanessa Guillen absent soldier, when you've done this to a distinguished honor graduate that was aspiring, when you've done this, when you won't even give the family his remains, when you won't, because you've participated, because he was a CID intern, um, you know, uh, the leadership should be absolutely outraged and apologetic and seeking justice for Richard. And I think now with this, we'll see that the proof is in the pudding, right? That's what we say. The proof is in the pudding. With this institutional help that we're getting, telling us that Richard was never AWOL, never a deserter. He was always deceased because they had his remains early on. And that's why they shut down the investigation. They shut down the search, and it wasn't until that we came on and they were lying to us that they had to try to do a mock task force find Richard, a mock search. Let's do that for PE. Let's do it for PT. They had to have some kind of purpose of why they would take them up in the mountains. We'll do it for PT, give it an excuse for their op ord because they didn't have an op ord of Task Force 5 Richard Halliday. That didn't exist. So it was all a show, and Belen and Dannia were brought in because, see, the violence was absolutely done by Dallas, in my opinion, absolutely done with everything that we know, and some of the things I can't even share with you. Um, but with Dannia and Belen, they're like being used. You're gonna find out. Look up 3905 Bliss Avenue, and you'll see. And I'll talk about it tomorrow more about the connection. Um, it's huge. It's huge. And so they're sending these young females, a young mother, a young mother. Belen was a young mother. She's a young mother, and Dannia, just not even in her 20s, and Dannia just in her 20s, just starting at the height of their beauty, the height of life, their height of their when they're supposed to be learning, um, and aspiring and progressing and contributing. They were molded and formed and groomed into criminals that could stand in front of these criminal um, leaders to do their dirty work and to take the hits. Does that make them a shield? Does that make them a human shield? A human criminal shield? They took the hits. They're going to take the hits even more because they've obstructed justice and more and more. And so the other thing that um, I put up, we have all kinds of breaking news, right? And I posted this a few days ago. I don't know if y'all noticed. I posted this a few days ago. These coordinates um, that came to us, and uh, you know, we need clarity on this too, because and let me see if I can display this. Yeah, here it is. I wish I could get closer for all of you, but here is so here just for reference sake. And also, I will tell you that we have been told many, many times by sources that something fishy was going on by the Rod and Gun Club. And voila, here is coordinates. Um, so this information came to us, and it's right by the Rod and Gun Club. So I decided I need to inquire about this because we've heard for the longest that it's by the Biggs Airport. Here's the Biggs Airfield, the end of the airfield, and by the Rod and Gun Club. And here it is. And you can go to these coordinates. I posted them. You can look for
There seems
yourself.
nation.
Oh, let me turn that off. Yeah. So, yeah, I posted some videos about what's happening in Israel that I thought were contrary. We hear the same old thing on TV, but I like to balance that off with the contrary. Let's hear all the different sides of the story. Um, so I did add those on, but this is really for Richards, and the stories I add are related to Richard because this is political. This is political. This has to do with class. This has to do with um, leadership, taking advantage of the military, uh, targeting the gravy train of the military. And because they have gotten away with it for so long, they've put in danger our volunteer sons and daughters. And now I've been saying for a long time, probably for a year, maybe longer, that my fear was that they were going to target these migrants as recruits for in the military. And that's in the news now, and I put that up there. And I think that that endangers all of us when you have illegal migrants being recruited into the military and given access to weapons and big weapons and ammunition when we can't even control the volunteer sons and daughters leaders to protect those weapons, that the weapons are in the barracks, flush when weapons are being smuggled out of the arms room, equipment being smuggled, and now we're going to bring in migrants to be recruited into the military. I think that's a, I think that's a huge story, a huge problem. Please contact your congressperson and let them know that that they're up to no good. They're up to no good just so that they can have their gravy train, their warmongering gravy train. And now we're hearing that this was all a setup for the poor Israeli innocent people there because they knew that this attack was coming. And, they were just licking their lips, these investors, these war machine investors. They want war, and if it's at the price of dead people, dead individuals, dead their own people, if it's at the price of a soldier, um, if it's at the price of many soldiers, many service members, we see that. We saw that in Afghanistan, the withdrawal that was very clear. We can't forget that, but we can't forget all the other instances that we don't know. There's the seen and the unseen, the seen and the unseen. And we have, many 85,000 unaccounted for minors from Fort Bliss emergency intake center here, emergency intake center number 2, emergency intake center number 3 over the years. 85,000 unaccounted for minors. They're crying about, they're rightfully crying about the babies in Israel. But what about the 85,000 unaccounted for minors right there on our home ground in Fort Bliss, right in El Paso, that now has been, closed up and moved? But where is the accountability? Where is the investigation into that? Um, you know, what are they doing to stop that happening in other places? So it is just something to think about. That now with Richard's case, it really makes me think because I know that the 44 four-star generals and admirals, and I posted up uh, a congressman that made some really good points, but not all of the points that he made I agreed with, and one of them was that the general didn't, he had nothing to do with this. He's okay. No, 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 no. Four-star generals have everything to do with our military leadership, everything to do. And they have a lot of explaining to do because they clearly have betrayed us. The 44 four-star generals and admirals clearly betrayed the emergency intake center, clearly our installations, clearly our service members. They have betrayed and they are servicing their little gravy trains, and they're working for foreign and domestic enemies. Clearly, I have lots of information on Major General Clem Coward, what he was up to no good on. And, you know, clearly General McConville participated in crimes against humanity and the cover up of our son's case and more. And clearly, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, um, bad guy, participated in the crimes against humanity and the cover up of our son. Clearly. And, it's not me picking on them. It's clearly that's what they did. When you steal a cookie from the cookie jar, I have to say, you stole a cookie from the cookie jar. That's not me being mean. That's not, okay, whatever. You can do whatever you want. You can kill as many people as you want. You can cover up all of the crime that you're stealing from the American people and killing our soldiers or letting them be killed and covering them up, letting them be raped, letting them be turned into PTSD, letting them be suicided, right? Letting them be and covering it up, and I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm not supposed to say anything when I know that they're up to no good, because I don't want others to be harmed by their leadership, that they need to be stripped for their betrayal of our beautiful uniforms and our stars and stripes. They need to be stripped. And no way should Jerry Jackovitz have that job at the VA. No way. No way. And I liked his wife, and I'm sure he has nice children, but no way. Our veterans are put in danger with him there. Okay? Others are put in danger with him there. And from what I know, which is a lot, to cover up the brutal murder of a whistleblower because they didn't want another Guillen situation. They wanted to preserve their gravy train, and they did not want to give us our son's remains. That is lethal injection type of crimes. Okay, that is the betrayal of the United States. That, to me, that's lethal injection type of crimes. This is not a game. This is not a game. And we've got to stop this because we're destroying our country. We're destroying our service members. We're destroying our ability to protect ourselves through our military. That's what we're destroying. And that military, if you bring in people that you have not assimilated into our society to love our country, and you haven't taught our children to love our country, our people to love our country, which they have not done that, then you're going to be in the you're going to put these people in the military, these individuals, you're going to give them guns, and then whoever is up to no good, these generals that are up to no good, DC that's up to no good, will turn them against us. They will have a force we will be invaded from without into our own military, by our own military equipment, by our own military weapons, by our own military ammunition. And this is nothing new, right? This is all through history. If I like history, all through history, this is a clever little move. they make money off of it, and they use our own things, because this is our military, to be used against us. And this is a danger that I see. And to have Judge Robert Shook just put the tail between his legs and take off because he doesn't want to answer an open records request, another one, 2 of them. And you have Major General Eisenhower, what is sitting on his thumbs, sitting on his hands right now. He cannot click heels together and say, look, we will not obstruct justice in the case of a CID intern, distinguished honor graduate, soldier that is a whistleblower that was code reded, Or what about him just offering us clarity about the GPS coordinates that we're getting about August 5th, the findings of the remains, right? Because even dates came with it. August 5th, August 6th through 8th, having the DNA identify Richard Halliday as the human remains found. He can't add clarity to that. I mean, they've shut him up. They've taken away even a major general's power. And we have to stop this. So that's why we are not meeting our recruiting, because the word is getting out. I was swimming just a month ago at the pool by my mother's, and the lady's telling me that her nephew just got out of the military. He's having seizures because he is suffering from PTSD, not because of his deployments or the war, but because of what his leadership did to him. So this is something I've heard over and over and over again. And of course, in Richard's case, they got caught, because on July 9th, they got caught illegally for months using Richard as their punching bag because they did not want him to be a witness. And so they were trying to scare him. They were trying to discredit him. They were trying to bully him into silence. And so these leaders, that they themselves don't do the right thing because they're compromised, they want everyone else to be silenced and not do the right thing, and also to compromise them, right? Because that would be compromise. Oh, man. Take a deep breath, Pat, because it is just that serious. And I'm just a little shaky for releasing the 3905 Bliss Avenue house, because that's a big one, y'all. It's a big one. And I'll explain more tomorrow. So now I'll answer some questions. Good evening, Miss Halliday. Thank you, Anicia. Danielle, thank you so much. Felicia, thank you. How can they legally join our military? You don't have to be a citizen to join our military. I don't know if you knew that. So a lot of times they'll say, if you join, we will speed up your citizenship for this country. And this is not me. I have it right here. I posted it up. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, here it is. Let me play it for you. Let's see if I can get this going.
The Army and Air Force are looking to immigrants to overcome recruiting shortfalls. They've ramped up their marketing, including on social media, to entice legal immigrants to enlist. They're also using recruiters with similar backgrounds to appeal to potential recruits. But the biggest draw for migrants is the promise of a fast track to citizenship, plus jobs and education benefits. Both the Army and the Air Force have said they will not meet their recruiting goals this year.
So she mentioned legal immigrants, but they lie. They lie. Um, they're very desperate to get to war against Iran. They're very well, to me, from everything. This is my opinion now. This is absolutely bonus my opinion on this whole thing. Um, they dragged out of us trillions of dollars to be funneled to their pockets. This was a gravy train. Afghanistan was not a threat to us. Iraq was not a threat to us. We know that now. It was just a gravy train. And for those on the end, and it was disaster for so many that came back without a leg, without a life, without a side of their face or whatever, right? PTSD, whatever. And so many in Iraq and Afghanistan were wrongly bombed. Uh, very important, very important structures. They choose where they bomb, okay? And very historical, important structures are bombed in the name of we're at war, and that might be a general there, so we're going to bomb them. We know that. We know that the Antifa. This is not me at all. This is Catherine Austin Fitts. Her work, amazing work that she did during the inner city riots where they were burning the inner city. Those were opportunity zones. Those were small businesses. Okay? Those were the inner cities renewing themselves because of, and you're going to not, some of you are not going to like this. I love it. It was President Trump's idea to have opportunity zones to entice with tax breaks or no taxes at all to start small businesses in the inner city, to get rid of the crime, to give people their own business, their own pride, their own honor, their own integrity. And that was targeted by the riots. And Catherine Austin Fitts, she showed that by overlaying the maps of the opportunity zones and where the fires were and the destruction. And so, there's the seen and the unseen. And there's these false narratives. There is all these actors. We have been played in so many ways. And, this whole thing with Israel, uh, I can't even imagine that the leaders would allow people to be attacked like this, killed like this, when they had heads up. They had a heads up. We know that for a fact right now. And it's just heartbreaking. And I know, I side with, oh, yeah, they betrayed us because of what we've experienced in the last 3 years with our son, with every general, Major General Clem Coward, to David Stewart, to Sean Bernabe, to McConville, to Mealy, to Garrett, to Donna Martin. These 4-star generals, a lot of them 3-4-star generals right now, that absolutely could have done the right thing in Richard's case, and they were afraid that doing the right thing, they wouldn't get their 3rd star. Think about that. to do the right thing wouldn't earn them the third star. They have to be crooked. They have to be evil. They have to be absolute demons in order to get the stars. Something is wrong here, y'all. Something is wrong. So remember that we got information that Richard was never AWOL. He does not have a criminal record at all. That's why his social security number is so valuable, right? His social security number is valuable. Um, and, Interpol corroborated that there was no criminal record at all by having a yellow Interpol. Um, so they lied to us in so many ways. And they absolutely knew that Belen Rocha and Dannia Katzen were connected. And that's why it took them a month. They didn't even hide it. They weren't even concerned with Dannia because they knew Dannia. And I even think, to me, let's put the tinfoil hat on. Did they send Dannia to us to distract us, to mislead us, to give us that false narrative? Did they pay her to do it? And the PI, remember, Phil Waters, the only two people that he interviewed was Dannia and Belen. That's it. Why? Why? He didn't want to interview Leilani Hart, James Hart, Dallas Hart, some of the soldiers in Richard's unit. What about Jay Paulin? What about Michael Ruggiero? What about Lieutenant Colonel Roddick? What about Park? What about some of these generals? Why didn't he want to interview them? No, he only interviewed Belen and Dannia. Right? He's supposed to be a private investigator, and he didn't even investigate. He didn't even investigate. I texted him that Dannia had a criminal history. When I found out that Dannia had a criminal history, I knew he was in El Paso, and I texted him. And you know what? He dogged me for it. He dogged me for texting that Dannia had a criminal history. Now, something stinks, because as a mother, as the mother of a missing soldier, as the mother of Richard, I'm allowed to ask questions. We're absolutely allowed to search for our son. We're absolutely allowed to investigate. We're absolutely allowed to share what we have found out and to be transparent. We're absolutely allowed to do that. And, to be harassed because of that, to be hated because of that, something is wrong. Something is wrong. To be threatened because of that, something is wrong. So, after being in trouble, how did they continue to remain in the military? After being in trouble, how did they continue to remain in the military? You might have to explain that to me, Danielle. I don't understand. How can they after being in trouble, how can they continue to remain in the military? I don't know. It seems like if you do really bad things, you get rank. Oh, Leilani. Leilani, uh, she must have something on these people. Let me tell you, she's so protected. I mean, she's committing crimes while she was in the military, ruining her military installation. I mean, the people were uh, so harassed by her. I've talked to them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had to battle her for 2 years. She tried to ruin me. Um, I just don't want anything to do with this, right? I mean, that's her standard operating procedure. That's what she has on them. She's so vicious that they try to avoid her. And the leadership allows her to stay on the military bases. They allow her to go to the media. And this is something we're working on right now because El Paso Matters absolutely are liable for what they have done in the contributing to the obstruction of justice in our son's case. And you know, uh, Kachurga, Miss Kachurga, what is she a crisis actor? Is she a crisis actor? I don't know. She needs to turn in her journalism degree. I think she's a crisis actor because to play along with this whole Lilani Hart thing, this false narrative, and she is a convicted criminal and hurting so many people. See, that's the thing. Even in the media, if you go along with people that hurt people, you can rise in the ranks, right? You can progress in your profession. But if you are a true journalism, they want to shut you down. They want to fire you. So you know, it's a moral hazard. And who's going to stand up to them? Um, I, I for one, am standing up to them. And I'm not alone. It's Team Farm Richard Halliday. We're standing up to them. And we want to ask, where's Richard? Give us Richard's remains. And who is going to um, start knocking on doors? Start knocking on doors. That's coming. So I have huge hope. And yesterday, when I was really, it shook me up about this man, this carjacker that was executed by lethal injection. You know, um, yeah, that is when you murder a whistleblower and you plan it out that you're going to take his remains and you know what did they use? Did they use a chainsaw or something? you know I'm not stupid. You can't just dismember a body with some kitchen knife. What do they do? These are disgusting, disgusting. You can't even call them human beings. To engage in child pornography, which is a torture of children, and steal from the American people the equipment and the weapons and sell it and profit, so that they can do their sex cult stuff, whatever they're doing, and be miserable and be miserable. You think these people are happy doing what they're doing? No, they're miserable. That's why they're so vile and vulgar. They're miserable. Um, and then to kill a whistleblower and dismember him, hide his body, and uh, you know get their and these are people of means, right? These are people of means with this plane um, and it takes a lot of know-how, a lot of know-how. These are pretty nasty people, very nasty people. So to wish for the lethal injection, um, yeah, first time in my life, I'm like wishing for the lethal injection, and that's why, yeah, I'm really praying for these knocks on the door to happen sooner than what I expect. Um, this is no game. And so, if you're uh, withholding information and you're in connection with 3905 Bliss Avenue, um, if you're in connection with the Van Buren, if you're in connection with Red Rio Range, if you're in connection with the dismemberment of my son, or you know something about it, and you know something about Park University, you knew something about CID, if you knew um, things that the general told you. We can't have another Vanessa Guillen situation. Do whatever you can, and it doesn't matter what you do. Get that arms room rebuilt. You can break every law in the book, but just get it rebuilt. Destroy it and get it rebuilt. This kind of stuff. If you know about those kind of things, then you need to call 941-677-0060. Um, we would really appreciate it. Do the right thing. So yeah, it's like spiraling down. Early on, I used to talk about that spiraling down into the depths, the depths of the abyss where there's wailing and gnashing of teeth. Yeah, we don't want to go there. It's pretty horrible. So I heard that Richard fought back. I heard he fought back. So anyway, okay, y'all. And then people ask, you know, how can you do this? You need to relax. No, no. Look at what they did. And if they get away with this, they're going to do it again because they're never satisfied. They're never satisfied. And so this is really important. And the one last thing I want to ask for everyone to do is to sign the petition for the active duty soldier. We know who he is. We don't know who he is. We don't know him. We just know who he is. And he's very brave. And we have, I think the last time I looked, it's like 253 signatures on that petition to just hedge him. We need to give him support. We need to give him protection. And so if you haven't signed it, please sign it. Uh, you can be anonymous, but sign it and then do more. Have another person sign it. Campaign to have these signatures. It really is important. And he really appreciates your support. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.